Shut up and sit down.
Hello and welcome back to the Tiki Sessions, here again with me, Stuart Cullen from Rawee Board Company. Now, as always, behind the bar we have Ash with us. How's it going this week, Ash?
I'm really good, thanks, man. I'm so stoked to have Mr. Rob Skelly along with us tonight. Thanks, Rob, tonight I've made you a couple of drinks. I know you do like a wee drink now and again.
Every now and again.
I've made you a lovely pina colada here. We make it with Coco Lopez, a nice coconut rum, fresh pineapple. So you've got that here. You've obviously got a bottle of Corona, and I've made you a lovely, I know you're a big tequila fan, so I've got you a nice mezcal margarita here to enjoy while we have a chat with you, man. So pleasure to have you in the bar.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Just before we get started, just previously while we were setting up, I was talking to Rob and I've ran out of beer, so whenever I could get another beer, that'd be great. Rob, me and you go way back.
Yeah.
So we do probably, 15, 16 years now?
Yeah.
We both had more hair and less weight. Yeah. So we've obviously, over the years, been really good mates. We've been business partners. We've worked together in education. We've travelled the world together. We've hung out with famous people together, which we'll get onto later. But you're not originally from the North Coast?
No, originally from Belfast, and came up here to go to university in 1990.
And what was it you were studying at uni?
Media studies.
Okay.
Ended up sixth form, flicking through a prospectus and saw media studies 9 hours a week, and thought that'll do me nicely. So, and it did. It seemed to fit. And then just ended up staying.
And whenever you were up in the North Coast, Rob, what sort of bars or restaurants did you frequent up here at the time?
Well, back then it wasn't really restaurants.
Oh, right, okay.
Like, you got sort of Rudy's Chip Shop.
Yeah, okay.
Now Mr. Chips. Yeah. But that was about the height of the culinary experience. But
Shirley's Diner must have been up there as well, was it?
Aye, Shirley's was there.
After Kelly's, you'd walk down Causeway Street and Shirley's would be rammed.
Like you sort of frequented most of them. There was a bit of a round. Like Monday nights was, if I remember, it was Tracts.
Class.
And then Tuesday nights was the Anchor. Wednesday nights Kelly's, obviously.
Yeah.
Thursday nights back to the Anchor or the traditional music in the Harbour Bar in the wee back room.
Nice.
And then Friday night you had a night off. Saturday night back to Kelly's. Sunday night the Harbour.
Brilliant.
Sounds like a hard deal being a student in Korean back in those days.
9 hours a week.
9 hours a week, exactly, well picked. So, one of the reasons you're on the show tonight is obviously your history with water sports. Yeah. And you're probably one of the go-to people in Northern Ireland for river water sports.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you get into that? Because if you came from Belfast, again, not at that time, not a huge place for water sports. North Coast has always had that history, but you went down the river sports rather than surfing and so on. So how did that all come about?
Ended up setting up my own business in '96 at Drumaheglis, just outside Ballymoney.
And that was called?
The Edge Watersports.
Edge Watersports, really well known around the North Coast now, so it is. And you've been in 3 different locations?
Yeah. We started at Drumaheglis. We were there for about 9 years, and then in 2005, a couple of things happened, and we had to shut the main water ski school. So we took the retail end of the business and moved to Hannah Boats, which is about 1.5 miles from where we were based, still on the river. And while we were there, ran obviously water sports retail, concentrating on wakeboarding, water skiing, and boat sports really. And then I did private water ski lessons for 10 years. I also took up a lectureship at the time. But then in 2015, we got the offer of our current location, which is the Crana, just between Coleraine and Port Stewart. Moved down there, and it was basically a derelict site whenever we moved in. Bit of hard graft, a lot of money, and we set up the activity centre again, and it's gone great guns ever since.
One of the things I hate about you, Rob, is that whenever I'm going to work in the morning, and
the pictures.
I'm
nice
the same as
the
everybody.
office.
I check Facebook before I'm checking if I'm breathing in the morning. You know what I mean? And every morning there's just like this stunning sunrise picture of the river band from the Crana, and you're always like, it's taken at like 6:30 in the morning, and you're like, yeah, it's a hard place working in my office. And I just think you get.
Do you know what though, man? I think it's a lovely thing because there's quite a few institutions now. Social media is obviously a relatively new thing, but for me, I always look for the Trog Surf Report, the Worldies Surf Report, and I used to love when you put those photos up and seeing photos of, because if unfortunately the first thing most people do these days is lift their phone when they wake up, and seeing something like that sort of brightens the day. And it sounds a bit lame to say that, but I always looked forward to seeing that
because you know it's going to be a good day, and you know you want to get out and see that day.
Why I started doing those pictures was of a lot of mates in Belfast, like lawyers, accountants, doctors, guys that are sitting in traffic jams on their way into work. And if I get the snap up about 7 o'clock in the morning, I know they're sitting in traffic.
So it's just basically 2 fingers to your mates. So it is. So you obviously started Edge Watersports, but then you also landed the dealership for O'Neill, and you became an O'Neill rep.
Yep.
And O'Neill's a huge worldwide company. So talk to us about your sort of involvement in that. Is that just, you became a rep and you just sell their wetsuits, or what experiences have you had for that?
Again, it was actually quite a process to get to O'Neill. Like we did various wetsuits over the years, but O'Neill was a brand that I did want to have. And after about, I suppose I was in business about 12 years, and then I bumped into Big Lloyd Cartmel. He's got the Ireland and Wales region, and just met him at a boat show and got chatting to him and got an account set up, and it's gone great ever since. Whenever we were at Hannah Boats, it was top end suits all the time. We couldn't sell the cheaper suits. Yeah, it was all high end stuff. Moving to the Crana, the market changed, and now it's sort of the mid range suits that we do very well on. But we're also the biggest retailer of wakeboards and water skis in probably Ireland at the moment. Liquid Force, O'Brien, and Joby are the brands that we do. And over the last couple of years, we've seen a massive growth in the stand-up paddleboarding market. Yeah. So that's one of our key products at the minute. And again, with O'Brien, with Joby, with O'Shea, and we have a couple of non-branded products as well coming in, so there's price points for everybody and that end of things, but I'm a great believer that you buy once and you buy right. Yeah, and
we in previous Tiki Sessions we always come back to stand-up paddleboarding, and the stand-up paddleboarding is such a big thing for sort of mental health, and people really enjoying it. Big Alan Simpson was on before with us. I do it an awful lot as well. Do you ever get out yourself? Because you seem like such a busy guy, and I wonder how you manage that sort of work-life balance.
That's a 6 o'clock in the morning photograph.
Oh, right, cool, okay.
That's, I never thought I would actually get into paddleboarding whenever it first came out. It was sort of like, who's going to spend £600-700 on a blow-up board? Yeah. It's just a big surfboard. Yeah. But whenever you actually dig into it, there's an awful lot of technology in the boards, in the better ones.
They've come on massively in the last few years. Are you inflatable down at the park?
We use inflatables. We had hard paddle boards at the start. I bought a few of them, 1,200, 1,500 quid each. And as soon as they hit anything or you dropped them, they were cracked, you had to get them fixed. So we brought in inflatable boards for our hire stock. And we've been running with the same boards for 6 years. Amazing. Never an issue. Last year I bought myself a 12.6 cruising board, so it's a wee bit narrower, a wee bit longer, and you generate a bit of speed. And then this year I'm actually have an electric paddleboard coming.
Oh, nice, right?
It's because of his age, you see. He's getting
old now.
He's getting old now,
if you say that to Joan, you'll know all about it.
Exactly.
No, it came on the market for this year, and I've got one coming in. Quite a cool wee thing. It's got Bluetooth speed control on the handle, and does up to 5 kilometers an hour.
Happy days.
So another wee thing to have in the quiver.
So there was a time, Rob, that we were having lunch together, and you told me you were going to step away from the education career, and I was like, right, and why are you going to step away from it? And you says, I'm basically going to get a water park and put it on the river. Now, in my head at that stage, I was picturing like a Scooby-Doo bouncy castle type thing on the river, and I was like, you're quitting education to go and do this. And we've spoken to a couple of different people that have quit really good careers to go and do something different. But whenever I first came down and I saw the water park, I was like, oh my God, this is something else. And it was something that nobody had seen around here before.
We were the first in the country. There was one in Athlone that's been there for years, and we were the first one in Northern Ireland, second one in Ireland. And it was literally just, I'd been at the Crana a year at that point, and we just sort of thought, well, we'd like to get something that we can involve a lot of people that they don't necessarily have to be interested in a sport. They just want to have some fun.
Yeah.
So, did a bit of research, brought the first parts out of China, and then over the next couple of years built it up into a park that had a capacity for 120 people.
Wow.
So it was fairly full on. Like, we went from 5 staff the first year to 25 staff the year that we put the water park in. The third year, 30 staff. The fourth year, 40 staff.
Wow.
So it became its own, a bit of a beast to manage. And then last year, with the pandemic hitting and everything else, we decided, it wasn't feasible with social distancing and all the requirements that you'd have to have. So we sort of reset the business back to families and small groups. And to be honest, I only realised then what stress managing the water park had put us under.
Yeah.
And so this year going forward, we are just going for the families and small groups and a simpler offering, but a higher quality offering.
Because this is something that we've talked quite a bit about, is that realignment of priorities in life and learning that. And I've been under the stress before, you haven't, and it's that realization that you're chasing something that's actually having a detrimental effect on you.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. And I think,
well, I sort of lost a wee bit of focus on, like, up until putting the water park in. My mantra was always lifestyle over income. I wanted the lifestyle 7 days a week that my friends in Belfast were working 5-6 days a week to have on their day off. And it worked quite well for 20 odd years. But the water park sort of grew and grew and grew, and because you were doing it every day, you didn't realise how much it was taking out of you.
You're basically treading water, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, you're treading water and fighting against the current, and you end up going backwards a bit. So the pandemic and everything, while it's been horrendous across the world, it's actually, from my business point of view, it's actually given me a chance to reset and actually refocus on what we did at the start and what we've always done incredibly well. Like, I was involved for 27 years in the Irish Water Ski Federation as a committee member. I ran the first nationals, wakeboard nationals in Ireland. I ran the first European Championships in Ireland. I sponsored the whole Irish team. So, and that end sort of fell away a bit with the water park because it was such a beast that I didn't have time to think about anything else. And now, I'm actually quite looking forward to getting back to
what you enjoy, what
that
you're
sort of
passionate
thing, and spending time with people and making sure they're having a quality experience. And I think that's more important than stuffing money into a till.
And I think one thing that I've seen in the last year, during the pandemic and during the times that you've been able to open, and it's one thing that I think is phenomenal, is I've brought groups of young people down to you before, and some of them have been disabled and in wheelchairs, and that doesn't, you don't let that stop them getting out into the river. And so what can you offer to people that maybe aren't, maybe think, oh, I'm in a wheelchair, I can't go and water ski?
Yeah. Well, we have, in '97, one of the main reasons, I'll step back a wee bit on that, one of the reasons that I was able to set up the water ski school to start with was that I had an uncle that was paralysed, and prior to his accident in the 50s, he'd snow skied, he'd done everything, had his accident, and basically he lived the rest of his life in his car, and that was massive for him. And whenever he left me a bit of ground and give us a bit of security, and I was like, I have to do something for the disabled. My mum and dad had worked with disabled people all my life growing up, so wheelchairs and everything weren't scary or strange to me. And so in '97, we actually bought equipment from the States to teach paraplegics
Brilliant.
to water ski. And we've added to that over the years. We've got the equipment to teach the blind. We have equipment for amputees and people that have suffered strokes and all that. Like my sort of thought on disability is that it's up to me to make the river accessible.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that somebody's physically or mentally impaired, you know, that shouldn't be a barrier for them enjoying themselves.
See, yesterday I was watching a documentary. It's only a half-hour long documentary on Netflix, and it was about army vets in America.
That's very good.
Army vets in America that have got into surfing, and these are amputees that have been blown up in Iraq and stuff like that. And they've actually come back, and they're saying that, you know, before they got into that sport, they were suicidal and so on and so forth. And, you know, being able to do something that they saw as inaccessible to them has given them a whole new lease of life, both physically and mentally. And again, I think that's very similar to what you're doing.
Yeah,
you know?
well, the feedback we get from wheelchair users especially is that, you know, they can only go as fast in the wheelchair as they can push it.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But, or they're in a car where they're fully enclosed and you don't experience the speed.
Yeah.
But with the water skiing, inside 10 minutes of them getting into the water, we have them up and going on a ski at 30 mile an hour. And, you know, it gives them that buzz and that adrenaline that they haven't had since they were in a chair. If they've had an accident, they're missing it.
Yeah.
And if they're born into, you know, with a disability that's put them in a chair, they've never experienced it.
Do you know what, Rob? Like one of the common themes about what we wanted to achieve in this, the whole Tiki Sessions, about promoting the North Coast, and I think that service providers and activity providers in the North Coast go out of their way to make sure that
across the board, there's an extra mile. Like
It's
you
amazing.
look at, you know, out at Benone,
Dan,
with Dan, with the surf school, Ricky,
So
everybody
Ricky's quite close
else.
to the guys with liquid therapy and the autism initiatives and like looking after kids who have autism, and I was involved in some of those lessons, and it was honestly the most rewarding like lessons I ever did. I can still remember the couple of kids that I took in, and it was class. But I think that the common theme is that people in the North Coast will go above and beyond to try and make people feel welcome. And the common theme about, you know, the North Coast region and why is it so special is because business people aren't just worried about sticking money in their pocket.
Yeah.
It's actually making this as inclusive, number one, as possible, but also as family friendly.
Yeah. And sometimes the facilities can be a bit rough and ready.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's the people that make it. And like I've always said, it's the staff make it.
Totally.
You know, and we're very, very careful on the staff that we bring in. Like I've yet to stick an advert for staff.
Brilliant.
Like all of my staff have come up through me. You know, they've been our customers. They've got involved in the sport. They enjoy the sport, and then they get a job.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's the key to a good business, isn't it? Because we spoke to Claire Johnson, springs to mind. She's got an amazing, we spoke to her in previous Tiki Sessions. She's got an amazing team of guys in Johnson's Bar, and they're so empathetic and they're so good at welcoming people. They're good bartenders, and it's just a lovely, but Claire trusts them implicitly, and it's the same with you. It's the same with, I don't know, any of the surf providers or the coasting or whatever it is.
The staff are the front line.
Yeah.
Like they're the ones, like where me as a business owner, I may be out in a lesson, or I might be out on a paddleboard session or something. I'm not always.
Yeah.
So I have to have faith in my staff.
Trust.
That they'll deliver what I would deliver. You know, to the same standard.
Well, certainly what you're doing is absolutely fantastic, but there is the flip side to it as well. Rob took me wakeboarding once, right? Right.
Oh,
and
it was
so
really funny.
So I was out at Drumaheglis,
Yep.
and Rob was setting up the boat, and I got into the wetsuit. I'd water skied before, snowboarded, skateboarded, all of that.
So you had a knowledge of board
yeah,
sports.
wanted to try it, and just as I was walking down to get into the boat to go out into the river, Rob comes walking down with a spinal board and puts it in the back of the boat, and he's like, I was like, what's that for? He's like, in case you hurt yourself. I was like, Rob, I'm not doing this if you're putting a spinal board in. So he took me out, and I think it did all right.
You did really well, actually. You know, phenomenally well for a first time.
Yeah.
Given your fitness level.
And I did get tired on the return journey back up, and I did have a pretty hard slam, and it felt like somebody punching me in the face.
Yeah, commonly known as the face plant.
And whenever I came up and spat out the river water and was able to get my breath back, all I could hear was Rob laughing his head off. And I was like, I went back in the boat. He's like, no, you're having to work your whole way back.
Yeah.
So you are.
You got to get back on the horse.
Yeah. So if you want to go wakeboarding with Rob, 100% do it, because as bad as it felt that day, it was an amazing experience. So it was, and he does truly look after you.
Based on that, like I love seeing every year when you wish your dad a happy birthday, him water skiing.
Oh, here.
What age was he in the last?
His last one, he missed it last year, obviously, with pandemic, but he last one, 80th birthday.
Fucking class, man. Unreal.
Water skiing down the river, and it just, like, he can't swim a stroke. Right. Never did any sport in his life. Up until he was 67, I got him on a set of skis.
Brilliant, man.
Wow.
And he's just, the wee man's brilliant. And this year he's hammering on at me. He's had his vaccine.
He's ready to go.
He's ready to go this year.
I'm sure as well, you know, I've seen those photographs. I've met your dad a load of times, but I'm sure as well you cause your dad a lot of stress, because you have, Rob, what I am dubbing your Steve-O moments. So if anybody knows Jackass, Steve-O is one of these people that does ridiculous things that always end up in him getting hurt. And Rob, just to name a few, you blew yourself up.
Yep.
You
rolled a fire engine. I was in the back of a fire engine that rolled.
Yeah.
How do you roll a fire engine?
Going around a roundabout too fast.
Yeah. Well, I was in the back getting dressed at the time.
You hired a manatee, didn't know how to drive it and flipped that and nearly killed
I did
yourself.
know how to drive it, but it rolled on a slope.
Yeah. And whenever we were in Thorpe Park, you were on top of a motocross landing ramp, which was 20 foot tall, and your safety harness was 25 foot long.
No, it was 19 and a half foot long. It would have stopped me about 6 inches from the ground, so my head and my feet were hitting the concrete.
Wow.
You
know.
I think the first time I met you, you just in Kelly's, actually, weirdly, it's on the white collar boxing, and if my memory serves me correctly, you were probably getting beat in the first round.
Yeah.
And then you gave yourself a good stiff.
Oh, the angry head came on. Yeah, that was actually my second fight. I'd fought in the first event that was run, and loved it. Did the training. Lost 2 stone in 6 weeks.
Lost the fight as well.
Lost the fight. The guy that was 20 years younger than me and 6 inches taller than me, which isn't hard because I'm not overly tall. But and then the second time round, there was one of the fighters got injured in sparring, and so there was 4 training sessions to go, but I had a week in Spain with my mates in between. So I did 1 training session, went to Spain for MSc.
Is that for like cardio training and stuff like that?
Yeah. High altitude training, I think it's called.
Well, I was exercising my right arm.
Oh, right, class.
So and came back, did another training session, and then stepped into the ring. Brilliant. But it showed me how much boxing is mental. It's a mental sport.
Yeah, totally.
Not mental stupid, although some people would say that. But the mental attitude of the fighter.
Yeah. Do you think it's funny how you like it, because we keep talking about, for me it's a common theme of resilience in business and how you get shit on, but you build and like maybe if you hadn't won or lost that first fight, you might not have come back in that second fight.
No, like I was keen to come back. Yeah. And the guy I was fighting owned a supplement shop.
Right, okay.
That's right, he did.
He was Jim Bunny.
Yeah.
But he came out, first 30 seconds of the first round, had my head completely taken off me. But he was blown after that first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Whereas, I'd sort of
you were just sobering up at that point.
Listened to my trainer and just sort of thought, well, here, just settle yourself.
Get on,
focus. Got a bit of an angry head on.
Yeah, I think I can picture you in the corner talking to yourself.
Because he just went into like Rob beast mode. I just remember you were there and you were breathing, and then all of a sudden your nose crawled out, and I was like, Rob's gonna kill this guy,
And well, it was a good fight.
I think because I was doing a mojito reception up in there, and I think you were straight over for a mojito.
And those were phenomenal events. Like I think we did 5 of those events.
Yeah.
And we raised, I think it was like £70,000
for different charities.
Which was like the first one we raised over £30,000 for.
That was the first ever white collar in Northern Ireland.
In Northern Ireland, yeah. And I remember whenever I pitched it to you, you were like, "Don't be stupid. Nobody's going to want." And the reception was great.
It was brilliant. Like we packed Kelly's with 1,000 people every night.
Such a good venue. It was great. It was a really good night. From somebody who's an outsider looking in, who got involved, obviously with the drinks receptions and stuff. It was brilliant. You had some class. Like I got involved, didn't really fight in the end up, but we'll say nothing about that. But like Spike and the boys.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it was,
trainers were brilliant.
It was proper training.
Class.
Like it wasn't just going in and milling.
and I think so. Like one of the other things we talk about is obviously it's been a pretty shitty year the last year. Talking about how you've dealt with it, Rob, how you've dealt with it mentally, physically. Have you got into exercise again?
Just getting out in the water and paddling, and well, my big thing with boat is barefoot.
Oh right, yeah.
So that's sort of the biggest adrenaline sort of kick you get with the boat.
And what's the difference? Like with the barefoot, you feel more?
Well, you're doing 50 mile an hour
Class.
on your bare feet behind the boat.
Yeah.
So it's fairly intense. You have to focus really hard.
Yeah.
And you get that adrenaline rush where everything just sort of closes in and slows down. And the first couple of times you do it, it's a bit like your faceplant. You've no idea it's happening until it happens. And every year on my daughter's birthday, I put up a wee clip of her.
That's a hell of a slam that she has.
But she's all Ireland champion at the minute. But she just goes feet to face in under a second. No clue what was going to happen. Yeah. But fair play to her. At 14 years old, she jumped straight back on 20 seconds later and was up and away. But barefooting, you just need to zone in and you need to be completely focused. Yeah. If you catch your wee toe, you're in your head.
And it's funny because like when you like that elite sort of adrenaline sports, we've had Hanno on from the free diving surf survival, and obviously he surfs huge waves, and we're obviously like probably surfed head height is probably the biggest I've ever got into, but
you're doing better than me.
The feelings that you get, and he sort of said exactly what you said, where it closes in, and it's only you in the wave, and it's only you in the water.
It's just the adrenaline's pumping, and it's the best way I can describe it is those few seconds before you have a car crash.
Oh Christ, right?
But it's that sort of feeling of everything just closing in and everything seems to slow down.
There is this reoccurring theme within the Tiki Sessions of people doing stuff that would scare the hell out of me. So there is, to describe something as that couple of seconds before a car crash, or whenever we're talking about big wave surfing and you're going, fuck, the wave wasn't that big, it was 40 foot. It's like,
but to me, it's more than that, man. I think that we've all got distracted by so many screens and so many whatever, and everybody's common theme is it's just you and that one thing. You're totally focused on that one particular moment, and we don't have that anymore.
Being away from all that digital stuff,
totally. And I think it's a big problem I have, and I have a couple of young kids and their friends are in tablets and whatever, and I'm constantly at them, and sometimes I think, am I right? But I know that I fear that we're heading towards a brick wall with regards to children's mental health and screen time and all, and I think that getting kids into the likes of what you're talking about is going to be one of our biggest challenges.
So one of the best things that we could do then is start a video podcast. You know what I mean? In a bar. Yeah. So
that's what we try to do to help it. Yeah.
So Rob, obviously COVID's been a massive thing. We're talking to a lot of people about COVID. You sort of diversified what you've done during COVID, and again, it's something that's extremely great.
Well, the first lockdown, I don't know how not to work. Yeah. So the first lockdown hit, in March 2020, and it was just, what do I do? I was all geared up to start the activity centre, and then nothing. So I looked around. I heard Matt Wright was from Causeway Coast Steering, was working in Armstrong Medical, so I applied for a job there, and just worked in the warehouse, for something to do.
Yeah.
And I was particularly blessed during lockdown that my two kids came home from London the week before, so they got locked down with us. Brilliant. And that was time with a 22-year-old and a 24-year-old that we never thought we would have again. Where they were living in the house, but they were wanting to be there, and they were there as adults.
Yeah, what a class time!
So it was so nice, and the weather was brilliant. So I was coming home from work at 5 o'clock in the evening. And we're sitting out the back till 12 or 1,
brilliant.
Just shooting the breeze and having a few drinks and stuff, and it was just brilliant crack. And then we managed to get opened up till end of June, and that gave us a couple of months. And then obviously September hit. It wasn't an overly financially beneficial year with the activity centre. So again, I got a phone call that a friend of a friend had got a contract for COVID testing, and he was looking some bodies to put in the ground to actually do the testing, and I said I'd do it. And I managed to get about 45 people into work for the winter.
Brilliant.
So I've tried to get you in several times, but
I was too busy making videos about drinking cocktails.
Exactly.
I'm sure my wife wouldn't like to hear that I had a chance of an actual job.
but no, and then so I started on mobile units in Belfast, leaving here 5:30 in the morning to go down to Belfast to start work.
And for me, it's that ability to pivot and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to do this because
variety, helps things along.
Totally.
And I don't think in this day and age you can't be focused on just one career, on just one thing. You need to be flexible.
It's funny, like, because it's totally changed. Like, where the day my father joined his employer when he was 17, and he's been there ever since. He's 63 now, and he's still there, and he loves it. But those days, that's a thing of sort of our parents' generation.
Well, it was sort of that flexibility was sort of forced on me because of my choice of teaching water skiing. Because you only have 4 months, 5 months a year that you can do it, but that was the passion. That's what I wanted to do. So I had to find something to do the rest of the year. Like, I've worked in pizza shops. I was a fireman. I was, videographer.
Relatively bad fireman by the sounds of it, by crashing fire.
Well, I was in the back.
You were in the back. So what's your hopes for the future then? Obviously, we're all hoping and praying that we're about to come out of lockdown, and if everybody does what they're meant to do, hopefully we won't end up back in a lockdown with the vaccines coming in. There is a chance of getting back to, and I don't call it normal, I call it the new normal.
Yeah, there will be a new normal.
What's your hopes for that?
Well, my hopes are that the activity centre, we're able to grow it as a family venue and a small groups. So we, whenever a family comes in, instead of them being bunged in a changing room with a whole pile of other people, they have their own changing room. Which is all fogged and disinfected after use, and those procedures and social distancing and everything else is going to be with us for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and I think most people, Rob, would pay an extra bit to have. Like, I think with me with the 2 kids, like, I'll pay a premium so that we have not exclusivity, but we're not then rammed in with 50 other people.
Well, we won't be doing that. If you come down with your kids, you'll have your own changing room. You'll have your own instructor.
Brilliant.
You won't be with other people unless you've chosen to come with them. So and it's that managing that and making people feel safe. Like, there's going to be a lot of anxiety coming out of this, about the safety and things.
Again, that was something that came up in previous interviews as well, like with the likes of Claire in the bar, and she was saying it's about making her staff first of all feel safe to come back to work, and then about making the punters feel safe as well. And I think you're right. Even if COVID disappeared tomorrow, it's going to be here. The memory of it's going to be here for a couple of years, and it's how you adapt to still make your business financially stable, but also still give that confidence to your customers that you're looking after them.
I think on the flip side of the coin, there's an awful lot of people out there who are responsible and who will, follow the guidelines, but they're just busting for a reason. Like, hence one of the reasons why I've opened a tiki bar in the middle of a pandemic. I am hoping that people will come out, and we're going to be set up for table service and social distancing and whatever, but I think people are gasping to get out and start enjoying themselves again.
But they're only going to go places where they feel that people are doing what they can.
Totally.
Like last year we bought fogging machines for all the changing rooms, so they're all fogged with a disinfectant. The equipment's all fogged with disinfectant after every use. Wetsuits are rinsed in antiviral solution, cuts down the life of the wetsuit a fair bit, but again, it's something you have to do.
Amazing.
And the hand sanitizing stations and all that, but that sort of thing is going to carry on. That people will expect to see that, and if they don't see it, they're not going to be comfortable.
And maybe washing out wets. It's not that you didn't wash.
No. Well, we were doing it in antibacterial
I know.
before, antibacterial solutions before, but we had to source an antiviral solution.
Fair play.
And again, it puts our costs up. But that's something that you have to do to provide that level of reassurance to the customers.
And I think that most people, once this is all over, I think we all know that a lot of people have saved money through the pandemic. Obviously, it's been hard for a lot of people, but people who have saved money, I think, will be willing to spend it whenever it comes back.
And like even things like the paddle boards, the kayaks, those sorts of things, people are buying them. Boats, caravans, things where the family can go and do something together, but they're not stuck with 40, 50 other people.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's going to be the biggest change in most sort of mass market businesses, that they are going to have to be refocused like we have, and go for the smaller groups and the higher quality experience.
And have you bought in about 10,000 dry robes for everybody for the North Coast for this summer?
Yep, I'm on my second load of 100 and I've 40 left.
Wow.
Fantastic.
So they are the
ongoing.
Just waiting for Rawee to bring.
Well, Rawee, that's probably going to be my last question, and it's something we can talk about after the Tiki Sessions. Is, are you going to stock Rawee in your shop?
Yeah, if you give me a good deal on the trade price.
Always will, Baldy, always will. Listen, thanks so much for coming along tonight. It's great to get a catch up with you. I haven't seen you in a while. You know, hopefully one of the things Ash would love is for whenever he's open for you to bring the staff down some night and have a bit of banter, because I know when you bring the staff out, it is a hell of a night. So.
Yeah, no, well, you can be guaranteed.
As long as our Metcalf doesn't come, if he's watching, he's definitely not coming.
Well, we'll allow him downstairs.
All right, happy days.
Yeah.
Listen, Rob, thanks very much,
No
and take care and good luck for the future.
Thank you very much, Stu. Thanks,
Cheers.
Lash.
Thanks, man.